audience is that?
Hey, Nick, we need a tagline for the podcast.
No.
Real life opinions. Movie reviews told by fans and not critics.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello.
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 I don't know why I say goodbye. I say hello.
So, Corey, Laura, what month is it?
It's October.
It's my favorite month.
It's the most wonderful
Wonderful
time
time.
of the year. Take that, Andy Williams.
Have you guys thought about psychiatric help?
I mean,
Often.
yes.
Often. But that's only because all the so-called normal people just aren't normal.
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 Setting on the dryer.
So kicking off the month of October, we're going to talk about Corey and Laura's favorite things.
Yay.
These are the few of my favorite things.
This is going to be a musical episode, eh?
Yeah, right?
Right.
Repo was like 3 weeks ago. You know that? Like, maybe 2.
We're
Maybe
here
2.
to show that even us singing is going to be better than Joker 2.
Wow. Have you seen it?
Nope.
Then how do you know? You cannot form an opinion without going
Absolutely.
to
And I am the biggest advocate of that. But fuck that movie.
see it.
But Corey, I do have to point out that Whiskers on Kittens are not some of my favorite things.
Ripping whiskers off kittens.
No, that's just mean.
It fits with today's topic.
You can rip legs off of spiders, just not whiskers off of kittens.
The whiskers off of kittens is like kind of cruel and unusual. I'm not
It
gonna lie.
is. But it's not cruel and unusual when you do it to spiders.
It's a little cruel and unusual.
Hell
Yeah.
no.
A whisker versus an appendage.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys ever see the cute scale for like when you're allowed to eat something?
Oh, yeah. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, where you draw
Right
the line.
about here.
Yeah. This is cute, this isn't. So that's where I draw the line for what I eat. Spider, not cute. Kitten, is he like, oh, you're a little adorable. I'm not going to rip off your appendage.
Okay,
kitty
but
stir fry.
rabbits are cute too, but they make really good stew.
I used to know some people that would raise like the giant hares, or that I'm saying it wrong.
Hair share.
Not hair share. It's
Hares?
not. But they're not. It was like a giant. The name of this rabbit eludes me. They were like 50-pound rabbits.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're freaking massive.
I just want to see a hair share.
Those hares have shares. That's how big they
Right?
Right on topic today, eh?
Right?
So you two remember what we're doing today?
So the topic is discussing why the villain in the horror movie is you want to root for them more than you want to root for anyone else.
Which I still think is inaccurate, but we'll get into that in a little bit. It shouldn't be so much about the villain, but why we like the horror movies.
Why do you love the horror aspect of the villain in the movie? Why does Corey have so many tattoos of horror villains on his sleeve? That's what I want to know. I want to get into a deep dive of this.
Okay,
Why does Laura have "You want to hide a body" on her phone? Like, that's what I want to know. I want to get a deep dive into this, guys.
So this will be a very psychological episode from people who have no psychological degrees. So have fun, everyone.
We're going to have to take down our addresses off of Facebook. For some reason,
I don't think mine was on.
For some, a picture of your house is there, and for some reason, I see guys with straight jackets coming.
I'm pretty sure you look up Mini Blockbuster and
Oh shit, yeah.
your address is plastered
All of our address.
Uh-huh.
Well, motherfucker.
Right?
I've got a ward reserved for me, I'm sure, anyway, so.
Did I have purple crayons?
Harold?
Do I have to share them?
Oh, no.
Oh no, that movie looked terrible as well.
What's with Zachary Levy? Insults Shazam 2, and then goes on to do Harold and the Purple Colored Crayon. Way to prove your point.
Maybe he was making that movie before he finished Shazam 2, though.
Maybe. It's a possibility. Who knows?
Who thought that was going to be a good money maker?
Maybe like 20 years ago when that book was relevant. Actually, the book was relevant like 40 years ago. But
Yeah, I don't think they. That is such a silly premise. Like, the thing about the book is that it's cool because it's not even cool, but like it's interesting because it's a book that they do it in.
I mean, a 3-year-old would love it.
Yeah, and it looked pretty stupid. I think even my 3-year-old was just like, "That's stupid. This is too kiddie for me."
Actually, you know what?
She takes a drag from her cigarette.
I can see her doing it, considering last week she told me that she wants to learn all about pine cones.
Aww.
Right, so
Okay.
I have to teach her about pine cones.
Well, first you take the pine, then you put them in a cone.
She
Done.
would tell you that you're wrong. Because
Wow.
She's got
Has
no
nothing to do with the
problem.
fact that he is wrong. So.
right.
That little lady has no problem telling me I'm wrong. Let me tell you.
Oh, she's a good girl.
Yeah, you know what? So I had my coworker Tara staying with us. She was staying in the fifth wheel in the yard, and she come in like, "Oh my God, your daughter! She's so sweet." Just like, that's a trick. That's not the real her.
That was my kids too. Everyone's like, they're so well behaved. I'm like, come over one day.
Right. You know what? Jeff told me that about Alan, and I actually looked at my kid and went, "Who the hell are you when you're not at my house?"
He's one of the best of Nick's friends when he comes.
Honestly,
over.
even when they're at the retro, he's a pretty laid back dude.
Okay,
man.
he's very laid back, but you know, he was the biggest shit disturber. You guys know he got suspended when they were doing the God, not their main courses, but the other ones.
Options?
Option classes at the comp for throwing a mouse and beating a kid in the head, right?
Are we talking a computer mouse or a rodent?
A computer
Oh,
mouse.
that's too bad.
He was being bullied by one of the class bullies, and to shut him up, he literally took the computer mouse and beamed him in the head. He got suspended for 3 days.
I could see Alan just. Alan's the kind of kid like just like,
I've
had enough of your fucking
Yeah,
shit.
he'll hold it in until it's time to snap.
Right?
He threatened to hit me the other day down at the Scalp property, and I just kind of like laughed, and I'm like,
threatened
no,
it.
you won't. I kept hitting him.
And then he did.
Yeah. Well, like you guys said, that kid will threaten until he's blue in the face, and then all of a sudden, he will do it.
He's
Though-
like the little old man out of that social group.
He
though.
is, but
Yeah,
I tell
really.
you, I tell you what, if he ever hit somebody older than him,
Mm-hmm.
I'd whip his ass.
No, you don't do that. You let him reap his consequences and get his ass kicked.
Well, as I put it to him now, I went, "It's not child abuse." And he goes, "You're right, it's assault." I went, "Not if you hit first."
You know, I think these young kids today, they're all hopped up on the testosterone. They forget the way bars were back in my day.
Right.
I've been punched in the face a lot of times. And I'm guessing Alan's never been punched in the face.
Actually, he has quite a bit.
Has he been
Yeah.
punched in the face? Okay.
When they were at Charlie Killam, he had one of the biggest bullies there.
Yeah.
Went after him relentlessly.
No.
And it wasn't until I finally looked at him and said, "Stand up for yourself," hit him back,
Mhm.
that he beamed the kid in the head with the mouse. So,
Did the mouse break?
yes,
Good.
actually.
Then you know it's a good throw.
It was, I saw
So-
the kid after that, he had a big bruise on his forehead. It was great. He got taken out for a nice dinner.
Good job for almost getting suspended.
No, he did get suspended. I actually went and advocated to the school for him to have it taken off his record. He was still suspended, but it was taken off the record.
The lamest thing I ever got or almost suspended for, I was always never suspended, but always almost suspended, was I took, those like fucking broccoli-sized elastic bands?
Broccoli?
Like, how broccoli's wrapped in them type thing?
Oh, like I thought literally like
No,
the
no,
shape
no.
of a broccoli. I've never seen an elastic band that looked like a piece of broccoli.
I guess broccoli
before.
sized is the improper term. But either way, the broccoli elastic bands. Took one of those things, walked up to somebody to the small of their back, pulled back, and right in
You
the middle
almost got
class.
suspended over that?
Yeah, well, because he cried to the teacher.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
See,
Toughen up, kid.
I
Right?
don't know. I got suspended in kindergarten and expelled in grade 1. So,
Explains your education level.
yeah, why I skipped 2 grades?
Yeah.
The principal's daughter deserved it, just so they know.
I don't think I did anything that ever got me like threatened to be suspended. I did have a teacher kick me out of construction class because we kept kicking the vise, but that was just fun. Yeah, we take the vise was like on the table, and then you'd like karate kick it and go like, bang, and you'd be like, Barker out, and then we'd go hang out and do whatever we wanted for the rest of the class.
Right? They don't see this stuff.
The amount of people who skipped class in my high school because across the street from my high school was the mall. So it was insane.
See,
same here.
My mom took the fun out of that. We had skip days every month. But we are way off topic, by the way.
Me and my dear friend Danny, who needs to come on the podcast one of these days.
God damn it, Danny.
What we used to do in English class, we were in like English, like the dumb kid English. They're like the easiest course in the world to pass. So what me and him would do is we'd come to class, we'd get counted, and then, okay, I gotta go to the bathroom. And Danny, okay, I gotta go to the bathroom. Then we'd walk to Tim Hortons, and we'd miss the entire class. And we'd come back at the end of the class to be counted, and we'd be drinking Tim Hortons. So...
And they didn't care?
Well, eventually, we were passing the class. Like, this is how terrible this class was. Like, it was just...
It was like Dash 4.
It was so easy to pass.
13-4?
Yeah.
And so eventually what she's like, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to let people go to Tim Hortons on Friday and then bring stuff back, thinking that would curb us from leaving. By that time, me and Danny had both turned 18.
There's still Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Well, so instead of us going to Tim's, we got notoriously really bad for like bringing beer in my car. And so instead of Tim's, since that was no longer the cool thing, we go have a couple beers, come back, and
All right, Spicoli.
Which I am shocked looking back on it now that we never ever got in trouble for that, because there's like just I'd casually pop my trunk like, okay, Danny, you want a beer? Yeah, and we hang out, we drink beer in the parking lot.
So I wish that I was able to do that. I did 30 pure, and I was 6 months ahead, so it was kind of a case of, yeah, you're here, go away.
I didn't turn 18 until end of August. Mm-hmm. So I was 17 when I graduated, so I never did any cool 18-year-old things in high school. So
no, I did them all in junior high.
Danny was a year behind. So like the beginning of grade 12, he was 18. It was a party.
Yeah.
His mom was gone, right? She was away working the whole time and left him with a credit card.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was the worst decision of her life. Oh, we'd go relentlessly over to his house, just getting drunk all the time, and we got airsoft guns. They were called BB guns back then, but we got all these BB guns or airsoft
Well, technically,
guns.
airsoft and BB are two different things.
I should have bought some of those when I was in BC.
What we would do is we'd go to Danny's house and we'd shoot each other
Of
for
course.
fun. And I remember he's like, "Oh crap, my mom's coming home tomorrow, and there's holes all over the house." There was like 2 holes in the TV. They still have the TV. The roof was scattered in holes, so we would take little pieces of tissue paper, write out, and glue them up there.
I thought you were gonna say toothpaste.
Toothpaste would have held better.
I know, right?
We the doors that were shot, we like flipped them inside out. So that like it was the inside door, so she never noticed all these bullet holes.
Till she went in the room.
Yeah. And I remember I wasn't even the bad one, because Ashley Olmoth, you guys know Ashley.
Yes.
She was part of this group. Matt Friedrichs, Leanne Barnes, and
I know Matt Friedrich.
you know Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Matt since high school, so I don't know what he's like anymore.
Is he the one that, speaking of, married Leanne?
I can't remember what his wife's name is. I don't know him anymore, right?
I think so. And because I know Leanne too. Anyways, regardless.
He had a younger brother, I do recall, so
Yeah.
might have been the younger brother. I don't recall. I do know he got married, he had some kids, so
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, there was a wild lot. Wild lot. Like, you guys know Ashley, right? So
Yeah.
just imagine.
You saw Ashley and I at Big Valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that was a tame version of Ashley, a very tame old person version of Ashley. I've seen the real Ashley at Big Valley. Okay, that was not the real Ashley.
I
at
don't
Big
want to
Valley.
see Ashley
You
in Big
mean
Valley.
Ashley and I groping each other basically?
Oh,
was tame?
there was-
Okay.
There are stories that I'm not telling on the podcast.
We're fine with R, but NC-17 is out of the question.
But anyway, guys, I want to talk about horror villains.
It is 15 and a half minutes into this fucking podcast.
It happens from time to time.
We never said that we were.
What did we say? ADHD load of fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the tagline we were using?
Yeah.
That's probably the perfect analysis. Oh, look, squirrel!
So let's start with you, Corey. Why do you love the horror villains so much? And is there anyone that has resonated with you throughout the years?
Well, easily Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger, eh?
Yeah. He had one-liners. I love one-liners. His kills were fun, and he had a personality. Now, to kind of answer the first question first, why? I think Hollywood answers it themselves. Hollywood tends to give more flesh, more detail, more character design, more everything to the villain than they do the hero. So they make that villain so much more, not relatable, because that's scary, but
But they're the main focus point.
but yeah, they make you get emotionally attached one way or the other. If you hate them, that's fine. That's an emotion it's drawing out of you. But most of the time you love them. Most people will say, I love Jason, I love Freddy, I love Michael Myers. They don't say, oh, I love Laurie Strode. I mean, unless you're talking about Final Girl, but that's its own little subgenre. But for the most part, like, you know, you're not going to talk about, like, there's always Nancy Nightmare on Elm Street, but nobody generally talks about Kristen, even though, like, I mean, in part 3, it was played by Patricia Arquette. So, and she became pretty big. But as much as everybody loved the character of Kristen, everybody loved Freddy, everybody loved Nancy, and that was kind of it.
Well, there's the Jamie Lee Curtis. You touched on Michael Myers there.
Well, that was Laurie Strode, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Laurie Strode. You know, I feel like, and this isn't necessarily my genre of choice. I'm not as well versed as you two, but I feel like she's been an enduring character, has she not?
So for her, and it's not because of her portrayal of Laurie Strode. It's because Jamie Lee is a scream queen.
Oh, yeah.
With the amount of horror movies that she did, she becomes a central focus in a lot of the horror movies that she's in.
So in the Laurie Strode case, it's not so much that character; it's more of a like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type.
Well, like I
thing,
said,
right?
the Final Girl subgenre is real.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about the Sidney Prescotts, the Laurie Strodes, the Ellen Ripleys, the Sarah Connors. Like, they're all... There's not really any such thing as final guys. Yes, many guys survive horror movies, but nobody talks about the final guy. They always talk about the final girl.
I know a final guy, Ash, from the Evil Dead.
But he's not...
technically.
But he is, but nobody...
he's just Ash.
Yeah, nobody says the final guy, and oh, that's him. Like, I think every horror movie, and again, this is my definition of horror, the supernatural, the monsters, the demons, the ghosts, every villain in a horror movie has something compelling about them. Like, you take Devil's Rejects. It is a horrific movie. It is grotesque. It is intense. It is absolutely crazy. But what the things they do, I mean, the things they do is disgusting. They allude to rape. They talk about torture. They talk about the guy cuts off people's boyfriends' faces and wears it in front of the girlfriend type thing. Like, it's fucking messed up. But at the end of Devil's Rejects, when they get gunned down, you're genuinely sad.
Well, in that movie though, is it the sheriff? He's just psychotic in that movie. Like, he's like clearly the protagonist, right? Like, he is on them, and they're almost like the underdogs.
So for that one, I really feel for the sheriff, He drew the inspiration for the way the sheriff acts from Stephen King's Desperation.
Oh, okay.
That's how I feel about it, because that's the protagonist in it. Even though it jumps body to body, that is how the protagonist is. It's that's my goal. That's what I'm doing.
Is that a book or is that a movie?
Both.
The movie was good,
Okay.
but not great. But
I've
the book
never
was pretty
heard of the
fantastic.
movie.
Yeah. It was
Who was in the movie?
nobody really a big. It was one of those typical Stephen King ones that you got the introduction and the start of the movie, and you're like, oh hey, these characters are great. Gets into the movie, boom, they're dead. Moving on.
Yeah.
Like that's what Stephen King does. Is every time you fall in love with a character, he kills them off. So
I feel like Stephen King movies either are like the greatest movie ever made, or like awful that are just everybody forgets.
So the issue that I find with the Stephen King movies, and I've said it before, you can always tell which ones that Stephen King actually agrees with or likes because he does a cameo.
Mm-hmm.
If he is not in the movie, he does not endorse it.
I'd say the only argument to that one, and it's very true, is Dark Tower.
Yes.
Dark Tower, while chock full, like the movie, chock full of Easter eggs. It was amazing. I watched it in the theaters, and I'm like, hey, there's that. Hey, there's that. There was at least 13 different things in that movie.
Oh yeah.
But it really was a terrible movie with such great actors in it too. So
Yes.
That movie had so much potential.
but you know why? Every single Stephen King movie that falls short is because they're taking a 1,000-page book and putting it into an hour and a half.
Well, and here's the bigger issue with the Dark Tower series is it's literally a series. There's 13 books to that series. And they put it in an hour and a half.
Well, I don't think they were trying to get the whole series, though, were they? Or did they?
Basically, that's what they were doing with all the
They
balancing.
did the entire series?
Well, they didn't. They did and they didn't. Like it was kind of like, I don't know if you ever watched the Diary of the Wimpy Kid movies. I can say that because I have kids, so I know these movies. It's like, hey, this is titled Book 1, the movie, but yet let's take snippets from Book 1, 2, 3, 4, and then movie 2 comes out, and this is 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what they did, is they took snippets from the different books and put it into one. They didn't tell the story necessarily of all the books, but they took snippets from all the books and put it into the
Which
movie.
is where the Easter egg thing comes from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I do remember that movie, and I was really hoping to like that movie.
I was,
Idris Elba, Matthew McConaughey, it had
Right.
so much potential.
I was extremely disappointed.
I feel like that was the worst Matthew McConaughey performance I've seen in a long time.
I mean, Texas Chainsaw 4?
Yeah.
I said in a long time. Like, Matthew McConaughey is kind of, in the last, let's say, 15 years, become a really good actor.
Yeah.
And everything kind of before that, he had some pretty lackluster stuff before that.
Yeah.
But it was when he decided to get off the rom-com thing. He's been in a lot of amazing stuff since
Lincoln
then.
Lawyer was really good, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, off topic for this genre, but it still was a really good movie. But yeah, so like my favorite example I always give for why I love the villain is always been Devil's Rejects. But every horror movie except for one, I have fallen in love with the villain because A, I'm a little not all there, and B, again, they're just fleshed out more, so there's more reason to fall in love with them.
How about we put a pin in on which character? Because you touched on Freddy Krueger there for half a second. We'll double back to that again. Because Freddy himself, I've got a lot of thoughts on him too. To be perfectly honest, Laura, how about you? What's enduring about these characters to you?
Like Corey said, they are the main portion of the movie. They're what's going to draw you in right from the get-go. Pretty much any horror movie that you're watching, yeah, you're going to see somebody dying right away, but you get your first glimpse of the bad guy. You get an idea of what's going to happen. You get the ones that have their one-liners. You get the ones that are completely silent. Those ones are, yeah.
Why is there so many silent horror villains?
Because the idea behind it is not that they have to speak to lure you in, but that they can just be there. And,
Their actions speak words.
yes. Yeah, so that takes care of all of it. That's why there's so many of them do not talk. it's boogeyman. It's the boogeyman.
It is kind of weird when you sit back and think about it, like how many silent horror villains there are. Because like it's like, oh yeah, Jason. Oh yeah, Michael Myers. Oh yeah, Ghostface. Like, well, I guess Ghostface talks a little bit.
He talks
does.
on the phone, but he doesn't generally talk when he's killing.
When he's killing, he
Yeah.
never says a word.
Yep.
Never says a word.
He's
right?
had like I think 3 lines in the entire series.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
So
but like Corey said, it's not so much their actions or what they're doing, because again that would make us really off. But it's the fact that in a lot of cases, yes, okay, these people, this is what they could do. Maybe not supernatural, but everything else, this is what they could do. This is real.
Mm-hmm.
To some extent. So
Yeah.
it's...
I was just saying the other day about how when I was burnt in a furnace, I came into somebody's
Not that
dreams.
portion. You have to know the whole... And you learn the backstory to Freddy.
You do.
Right? And so, like...
you learn more
You're gonna have to
in
flush out-
Freddy's Dead and Freddy vs. Jason than you do in the entire series.
You're gonna have to
Number
flush out
2
what you mean by real,
sucked.
though.
Number 2 did suck.
And number 2 sucked horribly. But the stuff that they do, not so much that they're coming back from the dead, but that they're going to go on a mass murder spree. They don't agree with what you're doing. They're going to kill you. They've got an affliction for children. They're going to murder them. It's... People really have that mentality.
There's too many children in this world anyway.
I don't know if I'm quite agreeing with you on this. Like, that makes it real, though. Like, that almost is the fantasy element, because there's not a lot... There's very few people in this world that are mass murderers. Like, they do exist. But to say, like, that is very much the exception,
That
not
we
the norm.
know of.
Well...
It's like a tornado hitting in Alberta.
Yeah, I guess. It's their cases are so rare and few far between. The realism is lost because it's an exceptional case, not a normal case, and that's when I think of real. But maybe I'm thinking of it differently. Like
you're probably thinking of it differently. So the best way to put it is think of your nightmares. How real do they feel to you when you wake up?
Well, they can feel pretty real, yeah.
Okay, so when you're watching a horror movie and you've got one of these monsters coming at you...
So it can be like a real nightmare.
It's a real nightmare, yes.
That makes more sense explained that way.
Right? So, and again, you're either going to love the character of the monster or you're going to hate the monster.
I do really believe that a horror movie, if it doesn't have a compelling villain, like in horror anyway... It falls flat, does it not, guys?
Yes.
It does, but a lot of your villain, too, has to do with the storyline.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't have a compelling storyline, you're not going to have a compelling villain.
And the truly greats, which is few and far between, the villain is made because of the hero.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are... Because, again, I've been a horror fan since I was 5 years old. And I love them because... like I said, what made them, what brought them to be, what makes them tick, like what, and that's why I loved reading books on serial killers. Not that I'd ever want to be a serial killer, but what makes someone tick is such a fascinating thing.
It is. I fully agree with that.
They say like 1 in 3 people is a serial killer. Corey puts up his hand.
I was counting, so wait. 1 in 3. The boys at least are home, so
One of them too. Or if we put it as a group, that means you and I.
yeah.
For future reference, because someone's going to fact check me, that was a totally made up number that does not exist that I thought would be funny to say for the podcast. No, not 1 in 3 people are a serial killer.
Well, shit. 1 in 6? I'll fight you for it.
1 in 6. They are rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to be the serial killer. I have some demented friends. You know what? Hey, you know what? It's a good thing to be friends with the serial killer. Because, like, you're not going to die then, right?
Generous.
Yeah.
Although,
Depends how
Matthew
willing
Lillard and Skeet Ulrich were friends, and look what happened there.
Yeah.
Just
Can't
so
trust.
just so you know, I won't let you stab me.
Yeah.
I was going to say you can't trust Matthew Lillard, but, 50-50 on trusting Matthew Lillard.
I trust him more than I trust the other one.
Oh my god, what was his name? The other one?
Skeet Arch.
Yeah.
Billy Loomis. Yeah.
He is. Loco.
Did he die recently? Remember that?
No.
that's Luke Perry.
No, it's Luke
Sorry, I was thinking
Perry.
of in Riverdale because
Wow.
Skeet Arch played Jughead's dad.
Yes.
And
No, he's
Luke
Did he
Perry
really?
played Archie's dad.
Yes.
I cannot picture Skeet Ulrich as Jughead's dad.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a real dick.
Yeah. Okay, Luke Perry as Archie's dad, I could actually kind of see that.
Not based on the comic, but yeah.
No, not based on the comic. No.
But in River, he did play a good Mr. Andrews.
I could see him playing the character well.
Yeah, Luke Perry was great. He was a great actor. He did a lot of things that I couldn't care less about. A lot of movies, a lot of shows, a lot of whatever. I couldn't care less about Beverly Hills because I'm not a girl. I couldn't care less. I didn't care about 8 Seconds because I don't care about the rodeo scene.
Oh my god, 8 seconds. Oh.
But
now you've reminded me of the existence of 8 Seconds. We might have to do that movie on the podcast. I fucking love that movie. Love that movie.
especially when he takes that horn to the ribs.
Oh.
I've never watched it, so
It's
I watched it because
heart-wrenching.
my mother and sister wanted to watch it. I'm like, hey, this is sad. I'm never watching this again. So
I grew up in cowboy culture of a sort, so yeah, that was a popular movie around my groups.
I actually remember that happening because my parents were big into the rodeo scene too.
Mm-hmm.
Like we weren't cowboys by any means, even like my family, but they were big into the stampede every year and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I remember when that actually happened, and I was like, oh, that's horrible.
I don't know.
So-
Growing up in Calgary, you tended to stay away from downtown during Stampede.
Oh, that's like Big Valley. If you're not part of Big Valley and you
You
don't want to be
escape?
part of Big Valley, you get the fuck away from Big Valley.
Except for this year where I volunteered for it.
Yeah, dumbass.
And then got drunk because I volunteered for it.
People are so ridiculous with Big Valley. We're gonna get back on topic here right away, but with Big Valley, they're like, I don't want to go because country music sucks. I'm like, live music can be amazing, and there is a lot of amazing acts at Big Valley, even if you like country or not. There was definitely. Were you not surprised by how much classic rock was played, Laura?
There was actually quite a bit of classic. They butchered a lot of it.
Oh,
there's a lot
I
of
don't
classic
know
rock.
if I'd say that. I don't remember anything where I was just like, ooh, that's terrible.
There was quite a few where they butchered it.
Ah.
But, granted, my kid did get to learn some classic 90s songs, too, just because of me
Stop
walking
saying
around.
classic and 90s in the same sentence.
Suck it!
Yeah, Soundgarden is on the classic rock station.
It is.
Soundgarden. Linkin Park is on the classic rock station.
Side note, I heard the new Linkin Park now. Not a fan.
Yeah, she's not amazing.
No.
Anyway,
But we're getting back on topic here, guys, whether I got to rail us in or not. Laura, I talked briefly with Corey about, a character that emulates that kind of stuff. What's one for you? And don't say Freddy Krueger, because you can't say Freddy Krueger.
See, that's the sad part is Corey and I are so in sync with a lot of these, except for I hate Devil's Rejects.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to pick one that's not Freddy Krueger, I'm going to go with Pennywise.
Pennywise, eh?
Yep.
Oh, see, I was traumatized by the It movie as a child, and I have not seen the new ones.
See, I was, out of 5 kids, I was the only one not traumatized. And you'd think I would be, considering we watched it and then went to the circus the next day. And the clown would not leave my twin sister alone.
That's
But out
hilarious.
of 5 kids, I'm the only one, ooh, a clown.
then Zombieland comes out. That zombie clown there.
Right? And I still had a blast with that one. I mean, and you can say I'm demented enough with this one, but I actually want to go to the Spirit of a Halloween and get one of the Pennywise animated figures and go sit it on my sister's
They
doorstep.
didn't have any. How's it Spirit Halloween on Saturday?
Fine, I'll order it off of Amazon.
They had Tim Curry Pennywise costume, but they only had smalls left. I was so mad. And then they had a full mask. I'm like, no, I would just do the bald cap and the hair and then do the rest myself.
Right? But I would... It doesn't just have to be Pennywise, though. I could go get a circus clown and put it on her doorstep, and she would, football kick it across the yard.
I have a friend with a killer clown costume if you need to borrow it. So
I don't want to get drop kicked. So it's got to go on a mannequin.
Corey,
I volunteer.
you got a lot of time on your hand right now. Do you want to just stand out front of her house and wave at
You
her?
got to hold a balloon and wave.
La 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 la.
But you also have to get one of those whirly things and sit there and spin it. She would freak out.
A friend of mine, me and her, we took red balloons and tied them to the storm grates one year. All over town.
Or you go make a bunch of Georgie boats.
There's some storm grates like half a house down from her place that I know of. So you could just put like a bunch of red balloons on the storm grates.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I would have so much fun.
Oh.
No, see, she's got all her decorations up right now.
Mhm.
And she's got a couple that wave. So you just need to get even just a Georgie costume and stick it in between there.
Well, you remember what I did at the theater, right?
Right? Basically that, yeah.
What did you do at the theater?
You had a
we had-
Georgie.
We had the mannequin dressed up as Georgie, but then during the first two showings, like the actual first two showings of It Part 1, we had one of the staff dressed in the yellow raincoat with a mask so you couldn't see his face and a red balloon, and he walked down the aisle while the movie was playing. Somebody actually got up and they're like, nope, and they left.
That's amazing.
See, and then they did It Part 2, and I looked at Victor and I was like, you want to go see It 2 with me? And he goes, yeah, let's go, Mom. So we go, and I kept telling him, I was like, listen to the music, because you can always tell when something scary is going to happen by the change in the music. He didn't believe me. Well, we get to the part with the coffin,
Yeah.
and he's sitting there, and all you hear from me is, what? And the whole theater screamed. And I'm like, job done.
I like the horror movies that actually accept the meta-ness of it all, and then they, like, for example, the mirrored medicine cabinets, how they're staring at it, they open it up, and back in the day when they'd close it, there'd be someone there.
Mhm.
So there'd be movies where they open it up and the violins are going like crazy, and they shut it and there's nothing there.
Right?
So
I like the tricks.
yeah.
Because it gets your heart racing. You're expecting this, and then it's like, there's that letdown. You're like,
And see,
"You
and then
son
there's
of a
like
bitch."
Paranormal Activity for me, because I'm used to so many things. I'm used to looking at every square inch of the screen. When I watch that movie, I watched it by myself in the dark at 1 o'clock in the morning, half awake. And I'm literally sitting at the TV watching everything, no noise coming from anywhere, no light coming from anywhere except for the TV. That movie scared the fuck out of me the first time I watched it.
Well, and in that one too, if you're not expecting it, like you'll be watching here, and then all of a sudden something's coming out of your eye, and the person walks across the screen this way, and you're like, motherfucker. Like,
That movie, just like Blair Witch, I was a big fan of Blair Witch. Your imagination scared you. The movie didn't scare you. Your imagination scared you, and that's signs of a good movie, in my opinion.
right.
Well,
Well,
Blair Witch happened to come out at the right time, though, because the internet wasn't the way it is today,
Oh, I
right?
know.
Like, you could get, like, bits and snippets off the internet, but it was a pain in your ass, right? Like, not everybody had it in their pocket or
Well,
anything
even
like
the
that.
internet for Blair Witch, they marketed it as real.
Yeah,
So-
well, that was why that worked, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was...
Well-
everybody thought Blair Witch was actually real.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and just like you said too, like you know, they're marketing it as real. So growing up, what's one of the kids' biggest fear? You're gonna have the boogeyman. You're gonna have the monster under the bed, the monster in the closet. This is what the horror movies are giving you. Here's your monster in the closet. Here's the monster that's always chasing you in your dreams. Here's the monster that's going to reach out and grab your foot if you dare to have it out from underneath the blankets.
I still love doing that.
And your use of Pennywise, he's almost the ultimate boogeyman, right?
Almost.
Him and Freddy are almost on par because, you know, they can be almost anywhere,
They can
right?
be anywhere. Pennywise can be anything
You're
you
scared.
think he's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, so can Freddy but only in
He
your
is-
dreams, right?
He is not. So he doesn't turn into what you're afraid of, but he injects it.
Well, yeah, I guess you're
Whereas,
right.
like, Pennywise turned into that werewolf because Richie was afraid of werewolves.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's Freddy and Pennywise are the ultimate boogeyman.
There was a movie came out in '96, I want to say.
There certainly was. There was quite
There
a
was
few.
quite a few.
It was called They. It was produced by Wes
Oh,
Craven.
yeah. Yeah.
I fucking love that movie. So it's about the things that are in the dark that scared you as a kid, and that they mark you, and then they come back for you as an adult.
Ooh,
And
ooh.
you don't fully see them. They're more like shapeless
They're
things.
shadows.
But you see them, like you see a bit of them, like they're just like stretched out oil almost, and things like that. So you never, because they're only in the dark, they don't come out in the light, and it's an absolute mind screw of a movie, and I highly recommend it. A lot of people haven't heard of it. The acting's subpar, but the story is amazing. That was one of the first movies in the 90s that I fell in love with for horror.
And it's called They?
They. A lot of times it's called Wes Craven's They.
Mm-hmm.
You're more likely to find it under Wes Craven's They.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a lacking title, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
But that's like it's if you watch the trailer, they show that like they're interviewing this kid and
They?
and it's like
They.
what's called, that's when they come to get you. Who does? They.
Right?
And so that's where they get it from, right? Because there's no name, there's no shape, there's no nothing. It's just that thing that's in the dark. It's they. So,
But you know, realistically, too, some of the best horror movies have one word for the title. That is it.
Alien. It.
Mm-hmm.
Terminator, Predator. Actually, I guess it was not Terminator, but
Yeah.
Predator.
But when you work in a video store, the is not a word.
No.
Or
and.
It is.
Or-
Isn't it The Predator? Or
It
just
is.
Predator.
No.
Oh, no. They made one that was
The
called
Predator was something else, yeah.
Yeah, there was The Predator.
Which was a good movie, don't get me wrong, but the first one's still going to be the best one.
The
So-
Predators actually had some decent sequels.
Yeah.
They did.
Like Predators.
Predators with Adrian Brody was really good.
Yeah. And people kind of shit on
Prey
it.
was... I didn't see it, but I've heard nothing but good
I
things.
haven't seen Prey yet either,
No.
but I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah.
Prey was actually good.
And
saw
the
one
Predator
of-
2, I mean, it was cheesier than the first, which is scary, but it had Danny Glover kicking ass, so I'm okay with that. So...
The Predator had, I felt like the Predator is probably the only miss of theirs, of that franchise, I think, and I still liked a lot of elements of it, but they were like building a universe there, right? That's what they're trying to do, and I don't think it happened, right?
No, and see, and that's the other thing too that I'm going to touch on. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I don't like horror movies. I'm never going to watch horror movies." Yet they've seen Aliens, Predator,
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic
Jurassic Park. A lot of people watch
Right.
Jurassic Park.
So, but
The best horror movie of
I
all
love
time.
how there's
right?
a universe within our podcast. People who have never listened to our podcast are like, what the fuck are they talking about? People who have listened from the beginning are like,
You know what?
Poor Jeff.
You guys laugh at the Jurassic Park thing, but it like I do believe it was greatly considered a horror movie at
Okay.
its time.
So
I don't even think I'm that fringe for considering it.
So because of you and because of this podcast, Jeff, I'm not going to admit that Jurassic Park is a horror movie because it is not. That being said,
Uh-huh.
a horror movie
Yeah.
is what somebody subjects it to be. In your case, you are afraid of dinosaurs. I am not.
Why wouldn't you be afraid of dinosaurs?
Jeff's experience hanging out with dinosaurs, because he's old apparently.
Right?
Wait a minute.
So-
Wait a minute.
Right? So maybe he's the lawyer who went and took his shit on the toilet and got eaten. Who knows? I don't know. But it's whatever scares you is technically what makes it a horror movie.
But see, I respect fear.
Yes.
Like, fear is what fear is. But I respect fear. So, like, for example, if I was to see a T-Rex in the distance, let's use that for example, I'd be like, hey, there's a T-Rex in the distance, and I would make sure not to be there. And like, it's same with, like, I love spiders and snakes, right? It's the same thing. Am I going to pick up a random snake? Like, that's not a garter snake?
Mhm.
No, because I respect the snake. You respect that. But it doesn't mean you're not afraid of them hurting you, but you don't have to be afraid. You just have to respect
You
it.
just
that's
put it in a
like-
toilet and put a sign on it that says snake
See,
in the toilet. Leave
but-
it there.
So, prime example, like, I joke and say, you're afraid of dinosaurs. Eight-legged freaks? You guys look at it as a comedy? That is a horror to me because I'm arachnophobic.
Yeah, see,
Freaking
like,
love that movie.
Like, Jurassic Park is much more a horror film than Eight-Legged Freaks.
Okay,
Much
but now,
more.
Jeff, think of it that way, okay?
Oh, David Arquette.
Like, but you have to think. Look at Scouts right before we broke for summer. Adam picked up that spider that was on the tent.
Mm-hmm.
He chased me, and I actually broke down in tears. I am that afraid of them. Like
Arachnophobia. If you're scared of spiders, the movie Arachnophobia will institutionalize you.
yes,
It's been a while since I've seen Arachnophobia, but I remember it being unsettling.
Eight-legged freaks
The
because
popcorn
they're
scene.
because they're giant spiders. That gave me nightmares for months.
Oh, I know something that's going to creep you guys out. We had fresh corn today from our garden, and Nick decided he was going to bite the top off of his cob.
That's what you do.
Yeah, right. The thing about growing your own corn is where we are, sometimes you get like the larvae
Oh,
in there. So he's just like, is that a worm?
I
Which is why you never bite into the cob itself.
and this is
It's like
why
biting apples off a tree without checking them first,
Mhm.
right?
and
So-
this is why I do not eat corn on the cob. Like
not anymore, anyway.
He had like this big steak, and he had like this still left, and he had like the corn on the cob, and he's just like, I don't want to really eat any more corn, Dad. I don't even want to eat the steak, no.
it completely ruins you. But so it's a lot of people will go into it saying, it's an irrational fear. You can think that my fear is irrational all you want.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, I see a spider, either the house is fucking burning or somebody's killing it for me. Like,
Arguably, every fear is both rational and irrational.
it is.
Because again, fear is subjective.
Yep.
And that's like, and I know we've had this conversation before, when you work at a video store for as long as we did, somebody will come in always because they know us and be like, what's your scariest movie? And I'm like, I can't answer that. They're like, I thought you've seen everything. I'm like, be that as it may, what scares me won't scare you necessarily, and what scares you won't scare me. And I always bring up arachnophobia. I said, if you're scared of spiders, arachnophobia will be the one for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not a horror movie per se, but it is at the same time.
Well, it's kind of framed. I would say it's framed as a horror film.
But they're not like supernatural spiders, they're just spiders.
It's
I guess by the supernatural end of it, I guess.
that's where Eight-Legged Freaks comes in.
Yeah,
It-
it's more
but
of
the
a horror.
supernatural is a large amount. Like, that's why.
Have they been to Australia during
Well.
the spider rain? Like,
Bird spiders.
Ugh.
I will never.
Any spider
ever-
bigger than the size of your hand is big.
But it's
No, no.
insane.
Any spider bigger than your thumbnail is big.
Aw, come
No.
on.
No. Any spider bigger than the size of a pin. And that's like all of them.
So the little spiders you eat at night, those don't bother you.
I'm never fucking sleeping again.
So I remember one year when the spiders were really bad. I didn't realize it was a nest, but there was a nest on my siding of my house there.
You realize
And-
I'm going to check the siding before I
And-
leave, right?
Laura's never coming to this house.
I remember
ever again.
I poked at it because I thought it's what it was, but I wasn't sure. And all of a sudden, like hundreds of these little pin-headed red spiders came crawling. I'm like, that's a lot of spiders.
See, I think the best way to put it is, okay, I've gotten better. I've actually gotten better. I can take your shoe and nail one of those little spiders from 6 feet away.
Mhm.
But if it's 5 feet away from me, it's coming to get me. Like, that motherfucker's coming to get me. If it's in my bathroom, I scream. If my dogs don't answer, there's a plunger. And everybody knows if the plunger is in a random spot, there's a spider under it. Like,
So for some strange reason, the box elder bugs are making a small comeback here.
a small comeback?
Yeah, but
They're all over the place.
they, like
The-
early summer they were infested.
Yes.
But then they went away because the weather got colder. And all of a sudden I've been seeing them more and more lately. So I saw one on the side of my house today. I was barbecuing hamburgers today and I saw one on the side of my house and Lisa's like, kill it. I'm like, why? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, all right. So I finished cooking my hamburgers, put them on a plate, kept the barbecue going, and I put them and I threw them on the barbecue and I shut the lid.
box elder. But they should start despairing again too, because we're out of that. I want to say unseasonably high, but I like the
It
warmer
was
weather.
21 degrees today.
It was. It was.
It was plus
great.
4 in the morning, and it was 21 degrees.
But it was
today, so-
great.
And then there was a blast of wind tonight for a bit there. I don't know where that came from.
Right?
You went coming here. It was all my Halloween decorations were just going like crazy.
They're just gusting, yeah.
But I mean, it's fall. Suck it the
Yep.
fuck up, people. Everyone's like, it's so cold. I'm like, shut up.
You know what? You put on a coat in the morning and a sweater in the
Lisa
afternoon.
has yet to turn on her heat.
I turn it on at about 3 a.m.
No, but like in general, like for the
Right.
year, she has not touched it.
Well, see,
So
I have to turn it on because of my renter in the basement. It's a lot colder in the basement than it is the rest of the house, so.
This house is pretty warm for not turning on the heat, though.
It
Give you
is.
that.
yeah, it's not bad. And then we do have the fireplace in the corner there that we turn on, just cause. But right now it's buried with so much.
What I
shit
would
in
do
front of it.
is secretly drill a hole between your next door neighbor so you could plumb in their heat. Then you never have to turn your heat on at all. That's like one of the benefits of living in a duplex, I would imagine. Like you stay warmer because there's two of you, right?
Yeah, no, it's not bad. Like my feet have been getting cold, which is okay because I hate hot feet. Like my feet actually hurt when they're hot.
Mm-hmm.
So at night I've been sleeping, and I still every once in a while will crack the window, and I have one of those fleece type blankets, and I will wrap up everything except for my feet,
Well,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be perfect.
Jeff got to see what my feet do when it's abnormally hot outside.
Mm-hmm.
That was so painful.
Mm-hmm.
That was very painful.
At Craven, their feet was.
They did it at Big Valley too, but not that bad.
Mm.
But
But
when
then-
it gets to like plus 40, my feet and my ankles become as
Swell,
big as
yeah.
about as big as Randy's legs.
Yeah.
As much as
So
I
good.
want to talk about ankles, I want to spin back around to Freddy Cougar for half a second here.
Oh God.
So is
We're gonna make this
Freddy
fast.
Cougar not like the horror guy? Like I guess Pennywise is now it, but like for decades and decades, Freddy Cougar, more than any other slasher, I would say, was the guy.
I'd say Jason first because Jason came out in 1980, which is 4 years before Nightmare on Elm Street came out. And I mean, granted, there was no Jason in part 1, but and really, for the most part, not in part 2 until later on. But either way, Jason
Well,
was
it
probably
might-
the
Michael-
first.
I'd say
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers was 78. Good call.
So it'd be
Yeah.
Myers, Jason, then
And then I
Freddy.
mean, Leatherface was 674.
But
Right?
I feel like after the introduction of Freddy Cougar, he was the horror guy.
Yeah.
So yes and no. Freddy.
I don't think Jason was more popular.
No.
I don't think
So-
Michael Myers is ever more
So,
popular. Than
The only reason I say yes and no to that one is yes, Freddy was popular, but it wasn't because of Freddy.
Oh, I would disagree, but I'll listen to your point about this.
Freddy was popular because of Robert Englund.
Well, that's kind of one and the same, though.
Exactly.
Like
You can't
Robert,
have Freddy without Robert Englund.
Robert Englund wasn't a name, or maybe he was, and I'm just not remembering correctly. But
He was in the series
Mm-hmm.
back in the day.
But I don't think he was a big name when he got attached to be Freddy Krueger. He's a big name because of Freddy Krueger.
He is a big name because of Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger. But look at the remake.
Well,
you still
yeah.
have Freddy. And I feel the exact same way, Court. But you still have Freddy.
I don't think I've ever seen the remake. I heard
Don't.
Don't do it.
so
And the first part is I love Jackie Earle Haley.
Right?
But fuck.
But so the issue with it is a lot of people in Corey's and my shoes, we all flocked to see that movie because hey, we got a new Freddy. Freddy's coming back. But then you're watching it and it's like, that's not Freddy.
You know why it wasn't Freddy?
Because it wasn't Robert Englund.
No. I mean, yes, but no.
It wasn't Wes
was
Craven?
because
No.
because they changed his character so much. Fine, physically, they made him look like an actual burn victim. Okay,
Right.
a little weird, but all right, I
But
guess
the nose
so.
and the chin still
Yeah,
wasn't-
yeah,
they
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
right.
Yeah, but they all of a sudden made him like a pedophile, and they made him this, and they made him. I'm like,
So
no. Like,
Right?
yes, Freddy killed children, but there was never a sexual reason behind it. and they made it into it in the new one.
But
And I'm
maybe
like,
they needed to double down so you really despise them. They didn't want
Well,
them to be iconic
see,
and
and
beloved.
I think that's what it was, is they were trying to actually make us hate Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're coming
instead they
from...
made us hate the movie.
Right. But when you're coming from it and you love the character because of the one lines, he was funny. I mean, he took away the scare element, even though he's going to kill you, because he made you laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And then they completely changed the character.
Well, I think he's the most, like, correct me if there's another example, but I can't think of a single more charismatic horror slasher lead
I'll give
in
him
all of
that.
history.
Yeah.
He's,
I mean, Pennywise was pretty charismatic.
he was. He was. I mean, if you're going based on one-liners, then they tie.
Well, like if which one of them, let's say you don't meet either one of them two in a malicious setting where they're trying to kill you. If you're just like talking to them, I would honestly, like, Freddy Krueger sounds like the kind of guy you could sit down and have a beer with if he wasn't a psychotic killer.
Except for his voice was altered.
Well, like,
Leaves the steak knives at home and we'll go have a beer.
I like when he peels that apple in part 3.
Right?
Or 4, sorry.
but like he talks like somebody that you could know almost. Like,
Yeah, I don't think
the
I want
one-liners and the wittiness he has. I don't know. Maybe I'm way off base.
But
on
his
that.
one-liners and wittiness generally are hand in hand with what he's about to do to kill you.
Well, I'm saying, like, let's say he's not killing you. He'd be funny to hang out with. If he's not trying to kill you.
But like I said, his one-liners generally are hand in hand with
Mhm.
an I'm gonna kill you phrase.
Right?
So you don't
You
know
know.
what he's like outside of that.
Yeah, that's fair.
'Cause-
Maybe he's really shy.
Yeah, you know. I mean, have you seen Robert Englund? He's not an attractive guy. So
Right?
that said, he's still on my bucket list of people to meet. So
Yes, very much.
I
so.
came close. I was at the Comic-Con he was at. I got to see him from a distance, but I wasn't allowed to go up and take a picture of him because I had to pay for his autograph, which was like $120, and I was already paying to get a picture with Kevin Smith. So
Yeah, that sucks.
I don't
So,
know. I think I
what-
would have found the 120 to drop to go meet him.
I came close.
So Robert Englund brings him to life amazingly.
Yes.
What makes him endearing? Besides the one-liners, like, what else?
I mean,
His
again,
antics?
yeah.
I mean,
Like, what
He
makes...
sticks to his principles, even if
Yeah.
his principles are malicious.
right? You know, there is. So Freddy has never told a lie. He says he's going to kill you, and he does. I mean,
He's honorable.
Right? He's an
very
honest
honorable.
villain. So,
Well, we all got to think of... I've got it in my head. The best death in all the new Nightmare on Elm Streets.
I got mine.
What's your best death?
Johnny Depp getting sucked into the waterbed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then
And the
perishing
blood.
in the blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corey, what's your best death in the
It
Nightmare on
is
Elm
a
Street?
toss-up because my favorite deaths in general all came from part 3. It's a toss-up between what's her name going into the TV
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was a good one.
or
Oh, the marionette.
the marionette.
The marionette, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, my most memorable one for me is the guy in the fly trap, like the sticky paper. That one just bugged me.
Oh, the
and-
Roach Motel?
Yeah,
That was a girl, but
That
yeah.
was a girl.
Oh, was that a girl? I thought it was a guy in the
No.
Roach
No.
Motel.
And then she starts peeling off and her skin comes off
Oh,
and she turns into a
yeah.
roach herself.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that was a girl.
She was afraid of cockroaches, and so he turned her into a
Yeah.
cockroach before he killed her.
Mhm.
But, you know, thinking about it, like I say, Johnny Depp's death was my favorite one. Now, it really is a toss-up between that one and the marionette. Because the marionette was just so classic. I mean,
Mhm.
And it was, honestly, out of all the kills, it was probably the most grotesque.
right, but very well portrayed. Like, that kid played a marionette
Yeah.
very well.
Philip?
Ugh.
I think part 3 is my favorite of the classic Nightmare on Elm Street
Mm-hmm.
movies. There was a guy named Larry Fishburne in it as an orderly.
Yes.
Huh.
And Larry is another word for Lawrence.
I bet you that guy's not gonna do
Yeah,
nothing with his life.
he,
Right? Nothing at all.
It was great seeing him so young. He was young, skinny, had a full head of black hair and a beard.
Right?
So-
I
And-
just recently watched an interview with him about where he was he was giving Keanu Reeves heck. I mean, it's like, hey, you got all these Matrix guys in the John Wick movies. What about me? He said.
And then he was in part 3.
Yeah.
And I think maybe 4 as well. Was he? I can't remember.
Yeah, he was in all of them after he came in.
Well, it was only 3 and 4 then. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, my favorite, and it kind of goes on what we're saying with this whole topic. My favorite Freddy movie, hands down, is New Nightmare.
That was probably the best.
Because it was so fucking meta that,
Right.
and it made you feel like, holy shit, what if he's real? Like, Robert Englund plays himself in it,
Yeah.
and is having nightmares of this character. Wes Craven is having nightmares about this character. They meet with Bob Shea, who's like the executive CEO of New Line Cinema. Like, it's taking place in the real world. Heather Langenkamp plays Heather Langenkamp. And it's cool because the kid in it is actually the kid who played Gage in Pet Sematary.
Yes.
And he's also in something else that I totally can't think of right now. But anyways, so that was cool. But just everything about New Nightmare was so amazingly done. I mean, Freddy looked cheesier than most, but it worked because they didn't, like, Freddy Krueger in the movie was not a horror villain. He was supposed to be a demon.
Yes.
And that was a different look. Now, in terms of the story, and I hate to say it because the movie was subpar, but it's a guilty pleasure, Freddy vs. Jason is the best Freddy story in the franchise.
Yes. And honestly, like you said, story subpar. I would have loved to see them do more crossovers like that.
Right?
That would have been fun.
You know, I remember when that came out, I was just like, this is stupid. And I didn't really give that movie a chance. But, like, I think back to it, and there's actually, like, a bunch of scenes, like, I remember for, like, oh, I think it's a stupid movie.
Right.
And it actually, like...
Well, and there are some stupid scenes, like the caterpillar scene. What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Right. But
So-
again, one-liners in that one, or, well, I guess paragraphs, that you got these itty-bitty things, and Jason's got this great big... behind you.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Kelly Rowland getting
Right.
slaughtered. Can't go wrong with that.
Is Jason the good guy in that one? Because I kind of feel he is.
They're co-bad guys.
They're co-bad guys.
I kind of feel like... I feel like I'm cheering for Jason by the end of
And
it.
that's the point of the movie, is to give you an attachment to one of the two. There were Vegas bettings on that movie.
Yes. But, so, and here's the thing with it, and that's one of the biggest things with that movie is, and I'm going to ask you this one, Jeff, who won?
Well, I remember Jason winning, yet not really winning. Because, like, he's walking out and he's got Freddy's head, but then Freddy gives,
Winks.
like, a little wink
Right.
and nod. So, like, is he in the dream? It's like the spinny thing from Inception, right? You don't... Are you in the dream? Are you
So-
not?
So, I remember Mark and I getting into that argument, too, on that one, on who wins.
You know
and
you
he-
have a solid relationship when you can get into an argument over that. So.
Right? But he kept sitting there, he goes, Jason wins. I went, no, he doesn't. And he kept going on that this is how Jason won. And, you know, he cuts off Freddy's head. He does this. And I'm like, yes, but how do you kill a nightmare? He's a demon. He's coming back.
If you were to break it down this way, Jason ripped off Freddy's arm with
Yes.
his claws on it, shoved it through Freddy's chest, and then he cut off his head. Jason never got anything dismembered once. So, in a sense...
Okay, for kicking his ass, yes.
But
Jason
again,
wins.
Freddy can't die. The end.
Yeah.
But neither of them technically wins because it's a fight to the
And I mean,
death.
this movie was 6 years after New Nightmare, too.
Yes.
So.
Well, and wasn't at the time, there was a Friday the 13th. Oh, Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, where
Th-
the...
Oh
that-
my
when
God.
the New Nightmare, there was like a trendy to kind of reboot, but not really reboot, like
Well,
those movies.
the last
yeah.
scene of Jason Goes to Hell is Jason gets like blown up or whatever, and I can't remember how he dies in that one. And his mask is lying on the ground, and all of a sudden Freddy's glove
Yep.
comes out of the ground, grabs it, pulls it into hell essentially, and laughs, and that's the end of the movie. So
And that's-
oh my god, this is gonna happen.
Right,
It was
set
like
you up
5
for
years
it.
later that it happened.
Right, but it sets you up for it.
Yeah,
Now, if you
take
had...
that, Marvel.
Right. But if you had, like, Jason...
Kevin Smith did it first.
Right. But if you had Jason go up against Michael Myers, It's the same damn thing.
But I don't think Michael Myers ever truly died. I don't think he was ever supernatural. He just was tougher than a bag of nails.
So, but they explain it in the movie. It's not Michael Myers per se, it's the mask.
I don't know the Halloween lore well enough. I've seen the beginning of Halloween 2 where he's in the river. And that's it.
So basically...
That is all of Halloween I've seen. Actually, I think I've seen H2O.
I'm sorry.
Right? So basically when they reboot the whole thing, the psychiatrist is there and he's explaining that it's not Michael Myers himself because as long as he's away from the mask, he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute the mask is there, something happens.
But it's
him.
a trigger. It's like every actual serial killer has a trigger, right?
Right. So, but is it the mask that makes him tough as hell, or?
Well, the guy wouldn't want to be William Shatner either.
Because the in part 2, I believe, in Howling Kills, he loses his 2 fingers from a shotgun blast, and all the way to the very end, he didn't. No, all the way to the very end, he didn't have those 2 fingers.
Right, but then we'll say the new third one. He's got all of them.
No, he's missing those fingers.
I do not remember that.
Yeah.
But explain how he got shot, hung, pushed off a balcony, stabbed, run over.
He's a fucking tough dude, okay?
I kind of feel like Michael Myers is the granddaddy of all the horror final bosses. Like, I know Texas Chainsaw technically did first, but I don't really know if I consider Leatherface like a big slasher because that was a whole cannibal family. Was it not?
He was really just one of many.
Yeah,
yes. It's just that his character was so unique that he stood out.
Michael Myers was kind of like the first true, straight up slasher by himself, carrying his own movie. What makes Michael Myers endearing? Because I'm not familiar with the movies at all to know why.
In Michael Myers' case, it's not.
He's not the one driving it?
Yes and no. So, mentally, he's not the one driving it.
Okay.
That is pretty much the epitome of handicap. Like, he's got a mental disorder, and that's what's driving this.
So what makes that character himself endearing, though, that he's had so many movies?
I don't think it's endearing more than it is subtract a letter, enduring.
Yes.
Okay. That why is he so no, he has to be somewhat endearing for them to keep making. Like I understand where the
people were obsessed because he was the boogeyman. He didn't talk. He just had a mission and he set out to do it, and come hell or high water, he's gonna complete his mission, and his mission was to kill Laurie Strode.
So is that what made him a compelling character?
See, and I don't even... We'll get back to that in a second. I don't even think that it was so much his mission to kill Laurie Strode as it was to eliminate the family bloodline.
Yeah, which then they, of course, debunked that whole... Because I think it was Halloween 3 or 4 that they, it's his sister. Yeah. But then they were like, no, just kidding.
Right? Yeah. But I still think it was more along the whole bloodline thing. Because there was a baby. We don't know what happened to the baby.
Well, the original Halloween 3, it definitely didn't happen because they thought they were going to be an anthology at that time.
Yeah, and then they brought out H2O.
Oh, yeah, because 3 was Season of the Witch, and 3 wasn't really anything.
Yeah.
4 was Curse, I believe.
Yeah, and then H2O.
H2O was neat, conceptually. But it was just a god-awful movie.
Right, but how does she go from having a daughter to a son?
Yeah,
right.
It was.
Wait,
it was pretty awful.
Did they only make 4 of those movies before they made?
No, there was
5 if you count Season of the Witch.
Were there before they made H2O?
H2O, I think, was 6.
I want to say 6.
Yeah, so there was a 5 in there too somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was a 5.
Resurrection.
Yes.
Resurrection was 5.
Yeah.
Okay, then they made H2O.
Yeah. And then they rebooted it, which, it's funny how many people hated those new ones. I thought they were brilliant. So...
Well, and they kept making the new ones.
They did.
Not like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, they made one and done with the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, it was set to be a trilogy right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he put the money in to be a trilogy. But argument, because the reason people hated the last movie, and I don't think it's fair, but I do at the same time, is... You've got the whole thing. People are connected to Michael Myers. People want to see Michael Myers finally get his thing. In part 3 in Halloween Ends, it's not about Michael Myers. It's about this guy named Corey Cunningham, who basically almost kills Michael Myers, because at the end of part 2, he is left for dead, Michael Myers.
Yeah.
But he's hiding in the sewers at the start of part 3. He's beat up. He can't move. He's old. Like, he's already 60 at this point. And he whatever. So he essentially enlists Corey to be his new killer, to reinstill fear into the town. He doesn't have the mask or anything, but he still kills people. And then at the very end, Michael comes out, and then he has a showdown with Laurie and blah, 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 blah. But so 99% of the movie is about Corey and not Michael, which pissed off a lot of people. But I get why at the same time. It shows that evil can transfer to the next person. Like, it's like the Joker, how they say that he wasn't the Joker, he inspired the Joker. And that's the same thing. There's always such things as killers who inspire killers.
Evil persists.
That's a fascinating storyline, because I don't think I've ever seen a movie where the slasher gets old. And that humanizes him.
That's why I'm saying I don't think he was supernatural.
So you're asking what makes him so endearing? Is because he's human.
Well, see, that's one of the few, and I have said earlier, it's one of the franchises I'm not super familiar with at all. And, even in the originals, was he not supernatural at all in those ones?
No, well, he was never alluded to be, but again, like she had said, the stuff that he survives, it seems a little tricky to say that he's not, but
they clearly kill him in a couple of them, do they not?
Well, and
I seem to remember
H2O. H2O, he gets killed, he gets his head lopped off with an axe, but H2O was completely retconned almost immediately.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So that's where they were trying to allude into the whole supernatural thing. But, like Rory said too, once the new third one basically comes out, everything after number 2 is null and void.
Huh.
Which is okay, because honestly, 1 and 2 were the best Halloween movies. That's the only 2 I own of the original series, is 1 and 2. Then I own Rob Zombie 1 and not 2, because 2 sucked. And then I own Halloween, 2018, Halloween Kills. And I have yet to get my copy of Halloween Ends on Blu-ray. I've been putting a feeler out for it. If anybody has a copy on Blu-ray for me, please let me know.
Okay. How many Halloween, not Halloween 2, 3, how many movies named Halloween are in the Halloween series? There's a 3?
Not just called Halloween?
Just called Halloween.
2.
2?
3.
3?
Yeah.
3.
So the Halloween series has 3 Halloween movies.
Because there's Halloween,
but they're different.
Halloween 2, and then Halloween.
No. I'm saying without...
Halloween, John Carpenter. Halloween, Rob Zombie. Halloween,
the 2018.
Green, whatever his... Adam Green.
Yeah.
So is the Rob Zombie one not very good?
Yes, the first one. The second one should never be watched ever again. What? No. I understand why
Which one of these take place in the same universe?
None.
Okay.
Well, that's not true. The 2018 one takes place in the Halloween 1 and 2 universe.
Yes. But everything after 1 and 2
is retconned. But
I feel like 1 and 2 are the only intentional movies made.
Pretty much, because Carpenter had nothing to do pretty well with the rest of them. But now my thing is, I can see Laura's disdain for the Rob Zombie one, and honestly, 95% of the population have a disdain for Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Is it because his wife's in it too much?
No, the reason being is what made Michael Myers scary, and we kind of talked about this, is that he was the boogeyman. He was the shapeless mask, or he was the voiceless mask that just killed people. All of a sudden, Rob Zombie comes and turns him into, essentially, this is his backstory. He was tortured as a kid. He tortured small animals as a kid. He grew up. He was tortured in the asylum. Everything like that. Nobody wants to see his backstory because he's super cool without it. But me, I love a good story. So I loved Rob Zombie's Halloween.
See, it's like giving Freddy a backstory.
But that's what made Halloween or Freddy's Dead and Jason vs. Freddy so good, is giving Freddy his backstory.
That backstory versus
the new backstory.
The new one, I'll take the backstory for Freddy's Dead and everything versus the new one.
Oh, the new like the remake?
Yeah, because
fuck the remake.
Like,
yeah,
I'm not because I'm never gonna go into watching A Nightmare on Elm Street thinking Freddy was a pedophile.
Yeah, no.
He was just a child murderer. That's
Yeah.
all he was.
You know, it's crazy to think, like, people shit on stuff like the MCU about, there's too much going on, it's too interconnected. And you think of the garbage movies attached to these franchises. Like, technically, if you think about it, Freddy and Jason are the same franchise right now, right?
Yes.
Technically, they're all in the same universe because they're all connected. And there's what, like 20 of those movies altogether?
There's 10 Jason movies, not including Freddy vs. Jason.
Let's think, we'll include Freddy vs.
Okay,
Jason.
so there's 11 movies, including Freddy vs. Jason. And Freddy, there's 8 movies, including Freddy vs. Jason. So
I guess shy of 20
Yeah.
in one giant cinematic universe.
yeah.
Right. So
And then if you count Behind the Mask, because they allude to Freddy and Jason being real people.
they do, yeah.
Behind the Mask.
Oh, so good.
It was
The only Behind the Mask I know has Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon in it.
no.
Behind the Mask is supposed to be like a mockumentary about this this girl who's getting allowed to be interviewed by a serial killer who's a slasher.
Interviewed for...
Or not by, but she interviews a serial killer.
Okay.
And he's a slasher, and he's explaining how slashers get away with stuff they do. Like in terms of like Jason, when the person's running away and he's walking, and they turn around and he's walking, and yet they're running and he's right behind them. It shows that he's like, you have to sprint when they're not looking and then slow down, and it's a lot of cardio and blah blah. But he is legitimately a serial killer too, and it's a really fresh, unique concept.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great movie.
Is that supposed to be funny? Or
Yeah,
is
it's tongue in cheek for sure. So
It's meant to be, but so it's like going into all of that, and so Behind the Mask was really kind of their way of trying to help eliminate the fears of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, again, it doesn't work because, prime example is, say you're afraid of ghosts. Paranormal is going to scare the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can try and eliminate the fears, but it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
This was a good one. The Rise of Leslie Vernon, yeah.
yeah, they wanted to do something with it, but it only became a cult following, so they had no money to make any more. So
Yep.
I've never heard of that.
it was
And I don't recognize the cover.
that was
even.
that's not the
That's
regular
not the
cover.
original.
Is that the regular cover?
Yes.
Yes.
But that was a Blockbuster movie for me. I never heard of it until I worked at Blockbuster, and I'm like, oh hey, what's this?
I normally recognize the cover art, but even that other cover art. But that's pretty generic cover art on the other side, right? So
Yeah. But it was a really neat concept. I think anybody who likes slasher movies should have watched that movie at least once.
Well, and like it says on the bottom, Freddy, Jason, Michael, we all need someone to look up to.
Yeah, because they talk about, like, in his when he's getting interviewed, he talks about how Springfield has Freddy Krueger, Haddonfield has Michael Myers, and what's it called, Crystal Lake has Jason Voorhees. They talk to them like they're real people.
mm-hmm.
So
Fascinating.
it is like, that's the best way to describe the movies. It's fascinating. Like, yeah, there's kills in it, but they're not right home kills, I think the most recent movie that went back to the roots of slasher, not including in the last couple years, because there's been a good couple great ones in the last couple years, but was what's it called, Hatchet.
Oh, yeah.
Hatchet felt like an 80s slasher, and
Yeah.
it was amazing because of it.
That one was actually advertised as
As an 80s
slasher.
slasher?
Yeah.
There was a topic I was thinking about bringing up, and it now seems like a good time to ask you guys. What's an underrated slasher? Like, we just talked about Behind the Mask, so you don't have to go there if you don't, but what is a serial slasher in a movie character that people don't know about that needs more love? I already know a few that Corey could pick right out that he's told me about, right? Then there's probably too many for you to tell, right? Because, like, there's... What's the guy from Trick or Treat? Sam. Like, oh my God. So underrated and so good, right?
But he's not a slasher per se.
And he's not even technically a bad guy per se if you actually watch the movie.
Sam,
He's a slasher.
No, he is the spirit
He
of Halloween.
He literally slashes that guy.
No, well, that's because he wasn't handing out candy.
Well,
And, you know,
Just
he kills the other
because-
guy because he blew out the pumpkin.
Right?
Okay,
He's the spirit of Halloween. He doesn't count.
what is an amazing slasher that nobody talks about?
Pumpkinhead.
There's a reason for that.
Right? Think about it. Nobody talks about him, and he is... Okay, he's a demon. He's a pumpkin demon.
Yeah.
But... Nobody talks about him, and he was amazing. Like, he's...
I mean...
The way he killed people was amazing.
Like, I don't remember Pumpkinhead well enough to be like...
Like, the cat scratch is killing people? Yeah, no, that was awesome.
Okay, let's just... Are we giving her? Is this...
You guys are giving me Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, he's a slasher by definition.
Definitely
Right?
nobody talks about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corey, do you have a better pick than that?
Angela from Night of the Demons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I never heard of that one. Night of the Demons, eh? That sounds kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So, little backstory on me. I grew up obviously in a video store because it's me. And so as a kid, I kept going back. And I was
You
obsessed
grew
by
up in
this.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah,
Right,
it was in
that's what I
Saskatoon
thought.
actually. So, there was this cardboard standee for this movie called Night of the Demons. They put red Christmas lights in his eyes, and they were battery operated. And it shows this demon holding up this invitation list. And the tagline to this day has etched into my memory. And it said, "Angela's having a party. Freddie and Jason are too scared to come, but you'll have a hell of a time."
Right.
And oh my god, like that was after I already saw Nightmare on Elm Street, but that was what I was about. I saw Nightmare when I was about 5, but again, in all fairness, I snuck down to watch that, so I wasn't really allowed to watch technically movies yet. But about 10 years old is when I finally got free reign to watch whatever I wanted, and that's when I saw that. And
It's like, I want to watch this.
yeah,
See, another one that nobody really talks about is The Leprechaun.
I mean, people kind of talk about it, but
Kind
Yeah, I
of,
feel
but
like
not a
Leprechaun's
lot.
not forgotten
isn't
about.
that Warwick Davis too?
Yes.
Yeah. And Jennifer Aniston's first movie.
Right? Yep.
I really want to watch Leprechaun in space.
I really don't.
Why?
It's
So that you can watch glittery boobs? Like, what the hell?
I'm gonna make a confession. I love the Sharknado movies. I love it when a movie's so terrible that
demons, yeah.
I love it when a movie's so terrible that it's good, right? Like I feel like Leprechaun in Space, because Leprechaun was a terrible fucking movie.
So then watch Leprechaun in the Hood. Don't watch Leprechaun in Space.
Leprechaun in the Hood sounds terrible as well. I love
When I
it.
think of Leprechaun, I think of a movie that he's not a slasher per se, and it definitely didn't have an anthology to it, but it's a movie that stuck with me. I watched it as a kid. I don't know if it was on Super Channel or something, and it burned itself into my head, but it was Trolls.
Oh, I love
Troll.
Trolls.
Singular,
I love
Troll.
Troll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2 was just as stupid.
Oh, they did
but
make sequels?
They
Okay,
did,
I just know-
Yeah, there was at
There
least a number 2. I know.
There was
Okay.
Troll and there was Trolls.
But it was, honestly, it fascinated me as a kid.
But but I have to agree too. He wasn't really a slasher. He was just trying to take over the planet and make it his own.
It-
Like,
Troll and Leprechaun almost fall under the Critters and Ghoulies.
oh, come on! You cannot mess with critters. I mean, they're Spaceballs for
Oh.
crying out loud.
I love Critters.
Critters 3, Leonardo DiCaprio's first movie.
Yep.
Really, I was unaware of that.
There are so many sex symbol actors that started out in horror.
Yep.
Johnny Depp, obviously.
Yeah.
Josh Hartnett, H2O, was actually Josh Hartnett's first movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, Critters 3. And then...
Leprechaun was Jennifer Aniston's
Jennifer
first
Aniston,
movie, wasn't it?
yeah.
Like, that was well before Friends.
Yeah.
And even... it's not horror so much, I guess, but Masters of the Universe was Courtney Cox's big movie
Yep.
break, so...
You know, there's a lot of Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, and Renee
Wait.
Zellweger for
Yeah.
Texas 4.
Yeah.
What was Matthew McConaughey in?
Texas 4.
Oh, Texas. Same one, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the new generation it was called Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, the
Next
Next
Generation.
Generation, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And they looked just like they look now. Well, except for Renee. 'cause
Okay,
her
but the
ugly-ass plastic
difference then
surgery, so-
is Matthew McConaughey wasn't high doing that movie.
Well, we don't know that.
Did he go, all right, all right, all right?
No, that was after. All right, next question,
Would
Jeff.
this movie been before Dazed and Confused?
No, it was before, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, I guess it would have been. Yeah,
Yeah.
never mind. Anyway,
Next question.
Well, that's all I had for tonight, guys.
That's all you had for tonight?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to get.
Jeff, you're not big into the genre. You've admitted it yourself.
Yep.
What's your favorite horror movie?
My favorite horror movie. I feel like it's going to be a cheat. Does it have to be a slasher? Because
No.
we're talking
No.
about slasher. And I can't say Army of Darkness, can I? Because that's not a horror movie.
Arguably, but try better.
Okay,
Right.
So,
Jurassic Park. Okay, good night.
You know, before we go, because there's one question that you did not ask us.
What's up?
You asked us why we like the villains.
Mm-hmm.
You liked us all, but you never actually asked us why we actually like horror movies. You asked us
Well,
about the villains.
tonight was about the villains, though, right? Tonight was
Are
about
you
the
gonna-
villains, and we're gonna get into horror movies another day.
Okay.
Why the movies themselves? I wanted to know why these characters, these horrible, despicable characters, are so. Why are they so popular? Why do they affect the masses? Right? Like, because if you think about it, they really shouldn't. Like, these movies have dozens of sequels to them. The Scream is still going on. Why is Scream still going on? It should have ended. It should have ended at 1. And then it
turned
should have
into a
ended at
cash
3.
grab and then turned back into a good series.
Right?
So
See, and that's what a lot of them do.
Why are we still remaking Halloween movies? Why have we remade?
because he's beloved.
Because Rob
Yeah.
Zombie thinks he can do them better and he can't. Great music. Sucks at writing.
These characters keep coming up and up again, and I wanted to get behind why we love them so much.
Okay, I wanted to actually ask this, and I alluded to it earlier, but I want to be the last to answer. And I'll try with you, Jeff. I know because your limited knowledge will make it interesting, but I can't wait to hear yours, Laura. But Jeff, who is your least favorite horror villain? Not because of whatever, but because you I can't stand what he stands for. He's despicable, he's disgusting, and I wish he would die.
I not a character I guess think the character is just despicable.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So the contrary, we're talking about how horror movie villains are so lovable or endearing, like you said. But what about the opposite? Who do you find?
Well, I
despicable?
never said lovable, but why we
I'll
love
say
them.
lovable. I love them. So.
Right? They're
For-
cute and cuddly.
For me, so I think I mentioned before how it traumatized me as a child. I literally could not sleep for weeks after we watched it. We all gathered. It was in grade 6. I remember this distinctly. There's very few movies that are a moment in time. Okay, so the scene where the dog jumps out in the original Tim Curry one, a cat jumped into the middle of this room with a bunch of this grade 6ers, okay? And guess fucking the basement erupted. We're like, ah! And it scarred me for life. It literally did.
Damn it, Henry Bowers.
And so I want to say I've fucking hated Pennywise ever since that movie. Because I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life. And the stuff that he did to those kids and those adults, I fucking hated him. I fucking hate Pennywise. That's why I haven't seen the new ones yet. Because, I guess Tim Curry's Pennywise was...
And the worst part is that was PG-13 Pennywise too.
Right?
Oh,
So if I put a Pennywise statue on his front yard too,
yeah, the clowns don't bug me, but that movie... I fucking hated that movie, and I hated that character.
but from what I'm gathering too is it's not Pennywise. I need to get a Rottweiler.
That's probably the one that most that I guess despise. I guess I can't handle what he did, right?
That makes sense. That does make sense.
Laura, what about you? Is there one that you just hate what they do?
I have 2.
Yeah.
I actually have 2.
By the way, the Jurassic Park is my real answer for favorite horror movie.
We know.
Continue, Laura.
So no, I have 2 characters that I despise.
Mhm.
One of them, as much of a dog lover that I am, Cujo.
Is Cujo really a slasher?
I mean,
The-
not a slasher,
but
but,
the-
he's a murderer.
Right? So that was not the first, but one of the first ones that I watched for horror movies. To this day, I'm still afraid of St. Bernards. I cannot stand them. Like, you know,
I think they're going to bring me like cough medicine to the Alps or something.
right? And then rip my throat out. Right? That is what I envision.
I don't think that happens in real life, like the little brandy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I can see him ripping my throat out. But so there's that one. And I brought up this movie before, and both of you have looked at me funny. Girl Next Door, the horror version.
Mm-hmm.
What the aunt does to her niece is atrocious. And that one is based off of a true story. That is the only horror movie, just seeing what she actually does to her niece, that has ever made me get up and walk away.
Oh.
I have never in 39 years, well, sorry, that's rephrased that, 34 years, walked away from a horror movie until that one.
Because it was too scary, or you just like you were so angry
The-
at that character?
You hate this character by the
Yeah.
time you're done. The way she tortures her niece,
Mm-hmm.
and actually watching her torture this child, it pisses you off, not just on a parental level, but humanity. Like, as a human being, this would piss you off.
Well, and knowing it's based on a true story, nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
Which is a very loose terminology.
It was actually stated that, it tells you at the beginning of it, that this is the first child welfare case recorded
Really?
in the States. Yeah.
Huh.
Crazy.
Corey, who do you hate?
So, I mean, for the fact that I love the villain, I've got a few.
Yeah.
I'll narrow it down, obviously, because we could be here a while. But using what you're saying, that's like my tie for 2, because I have like a 3-way tie for 2 and then 1. And then, so if that's that character, between them, the mother in Flowers in the Attic,
Oh, yeah.
and the mother in Carrie.
I was thinking of the mother and Carrie, because I can't stand that character. She
she's
is
pretty psycho, but after watching Girl Next Door, she's tamed to me.
That's why I
Really?
said like that overall, the abuse, the not even so much physical, but the emotionally abusive
Mhm.
mother figure. I
Yeah,
always hated.
And why is that what gets us? Like,
I think it's because we all think of our childhood, because none of us had a perfect childhood, let's be honest.
Oh.
And so we all think, oh, did my mother abuse me? And blah, blah, blah. And whether she did or didn't, you think like that could have happened to me, that could have, and
you don't think that some demon is going to invade your dreams and like turn you
No.
into a marionette, but you totally believe that there's somebody out there right now
But it's-
abusing a child.
Because the influences of your parents, especially maternal, is what turns you into who you are.
Mm-hmm.
See, and even as a guy, like you said, especially maternal, because like the stepfather movies were
Mhm.
pretty cut and paste, but I really enjoyed them. But I didn't fear dads over that movie.
The
but
mother,
moms,
The
So,
moms, though,
prime example is the mother in Mummy Dearest.
yeah,
that's another one. That's definitely in that category.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was Joan Collins, or no, she
did
wrote
we
it.
talk about
She
Mommy
wrote it.
Dearest when we talked about our worst mums?
I think we did.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my number 1 was, and I mean, technically, there's 2 of them. Or is it 3? 2 for sure. And we talked about this before, was in Last House on the Left, 1972.
Oh, the original.
The new one watered down the bad guys so badly.
Was that Elisa Cuthbert in the new one?
Except
No.
It watered it down a lot, except for the rape scene.
Yes. And that's the thing. That was the year, around that year where, like, killers that rape girls was a big thing. And I can't stand that.
Oh,
I am a huge advocate against women's violence.
Mhm.
So it really did bother me, but it ended up making it so cheesy. Like the way the bad guys were killed in the remake, the one guy got his head put in a microwave and they turned it on, but they didn't close the lid. But they were able to turn it on and mic his head. I'm like, that's not how
It doesn't work that way.
So it was pretty cheesy in the end. But no, the original 1972. Oh my God. So these guys pick up these girls and they torture them and then they murder them. And then they go to find a place to stay, and they find this house, and they go to stay there, and it turns out it's the house of the one girl that they killed. And the parents overhear them that night talking about how they killed these girls. So they're wondering where the girls went. It was her and her friend. They went to go to a concert. And they're like, where are my daughter? Where's my daughter? And all of a sudden they overhear how they killed this girl. Oh, this is what she was wearing or something like that. And the parents are like, oh my God, that was our daughter. They killed our daughter. And so when they found out, the bad guys then start attacking the parents. But the parents snap. And like there's one scene where the bad guy makes the mother go down on him. And go on her knees and go down on him, and you see it from behind him, and she fucking goes forward, bites, and tears.
Yep.
And you don't see it because again, it's A, it's 1972, and B, the whatever. So I guess like I was watching the making of, and the guy had a leather belt that they used for her to bite on, so she could look like she actually had resistance when she was pulling. So it looked that real for the fact you don't see anything, and just there's so many things. Like the dad pulls out a chainsaw at one point on them, and like it's fucking brutal. But those guys that committed those atrocities, and yes, there's like I said, there's been a lot of rape in movies, and rape is awful. But that one in particular, I will never, ever, 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 ever side for them. So,
But they get their comeuppance.
they do.
They do. And you know what, like Rory said too, compared to the remake, the 1972 version, Mummy was mean. Yeah. Holy fuck.
But this was, Last House on the Left, 1972, was Wes Craven's college project.
Yeah.
So that's how old that movie is for him. He made that movie in college as his final project. And so...
And it got a theatrical release.
It got a theatrical... The trailer from the movie says, just keep telling yourself, it's only a movie. It's only a movie. Like, because it's so real in that sense. And this was before Texas Chainsaw. This was before Halloween. This was before The Exorcist. This was true horror brought to the screen.
See, in a way, too, I think that's... Wes Craven helped anybody going in to watch a horror movie learn to love it because it's make-believe. Just keep telling yourself it's a movie. It's all make-believe.
And that's how I got my kids into, although Andrew doesn't watch much movies at all anymore, but I got my Steven into watching horror movies because he was scared at first. He'd have nightmares from Chucky, like really, really bad. He had nightmares that Chucky was coming out of his carpet to come and kill him. He was having, and that's just because I showed him a trailer to the movie.
Yeah.
But then I told him, I said, when you watch a horror movie, make fun of it. Look at all the flaws, look at all the stupid things, and make fun of it. And now I created a monster, and he literally is Mystery Science Theater 3000 to every movie he watches now. So.
But you know, that's basically what I did with Victor and Alan because they used to love Tremors.
Mm-hmm.
But it scared the crap out of them to begin with. We went and we made fake blood. My husband walked into the house to a murder scene because we had cornstarch, water, and food coloring everywhere. But it was fun.
Summer school.
Right?
Mark must have been like, she finally snapped.
Pretty much. And then the kids come out and they're like dripping in the stuff. And, you know, that's when my kids started going out for Halloween as the monster. We weren't fun and cute anymore. We were monsters. I think Jeff is tired.
It's been a long couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long couple days for me.
Well, let's wind up. We have nothing to say, obviously, what belongs in the video store because we're talking horror.
Yes.
Does it belong in comedy, action?
It
depends on the horror movie.
Documentary.
Well, it sounds like some of these might belong in documentary.
Right.
I appreciate the deep dive on why you guys love the horror villain. Because, as you guys all know, it's not really my genre, right? It never has been. I'm a kooky action adventure kind of guy, right?
But,
I love a good day in the life story too.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
So, are we still strange creatures to you?
Oh,
yes.
yeah. I don't know if you guys have helped me.
Things are worse now.
Yeah. And I'm like, they relate to them, eh?
Do you get a holiday?
But I think it's time we bid everybody adieu here, guys.
I do.
I really, really do.
I really do. Okay.
You do, eh?
Can I tell them what we're watching next week?
What are we watching next week?
We're gonna watch Strangeland.
Oh, right. You said that.
Because Jeff's never watched it.
Never heard of it.
Dee
that-
Snider and Linda Cardellini.
Like, that's not selling me on it.
Linda Cardellini sells me on anything.
Right.
Oh, once she's in it, I'll watch it.
Right?
I
But-
do remember that at the video store now that I think about it.
We-
Because you had it up on the counter for a while.
Yep.
Kind of in the dying days of the video store.
Yeah, we managed. I convinced Roger to buy it, to get a couple of them, and every October it was like, you gotta watch this movie, you gotta watch this movie, you gotta watch this movie. It was
pretty fun
always,
movie.
but it was always in my top picks. It was
Yeah.
always in my picks.
Well, how long ago did it come out?
Oh crap! The first time I watched that movie, I would say 12.
Is it a horror? What is it? What's John?
Oh, it's
very.
It's
Saw / Scream /
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Dee Snider, like
Dee
Twisted
Sni-
Sister?
He wrote it,
I mean, Dee Snider was always crazy.
right?
Well,
Still is.
He is.
I don't think I've ever seen him act in anything.
He
You know what
plays Captain Howdy really well.
He plays Captain Howdy?
In Strangeland, yes.
Oh, I'm sure. Different, not the Captain Howdy I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, it's not The Exorcist.
Yeah. Oh. I guess we could ask everybody what's going on in our worlds, but the only one who's got anything really cool and interesting going on, I think, is Corey.
Right?
I'm going to be a little mute this week. I just want to get all my ducks in a row before I start getting too excited.
So no
Well,
more feral
I think
cats?
you have a...
Right.
I think you've got a couple other things that you could talk about besides that thing you don't want.
Yeah, I guess. So, end of the month, I say now reluctantly, I'm going to be in a Halloween play.
Reluctantly?
I regret doing it. I'm not gonna lie. So
Oh, but that's terrible
Not
to hear.
nothing against the director, nothing against the story, nothing against. I have too many other things on my mind right now. I feel I can't give it the attention it deserves.
So you're not regretting because of anything. You're just the time commitment was more than
The
you were
timing was awful. That was it.
expecting.
So I should have thought before I committed. So
I totally understand that. I went through a project earlier this year, and I know I loved the project. I loved what we did, but I loved the material that was written. I loved everything about it. I loved getting to go to Grand Prairie. The time commitment was too much, and it's tough. It's tough to commit that much of your life, and a person doesn't realize what a commitment it is until you do it.
mm-hmm.
But it's good that you took the step to do it, Corey.
Mhm.
And you know what? I know that you feel like it's overwhelming now and that it's too much for you. But you know what? You're going to get through it and you're going to be rewarded by this experience, Corey.
I think so, and I'm always been fascinated with theater.
Mhm.
But I just like I said, if this was any other time, but in all fairness, I think I also agreed to this before that.
You were
So-
pretty ecstatic about
Yeah.
this.
So again, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give it my all, and I will say that I enjoyed doing it. I just, like I said, and it's not a lack of time in my hands. I've got more than enough time in my hands right now, but my brain is everywhere but here.
Mm-hmm.
So
I hear that you're going to be stepping out to a different podcast as well. What's that all about, Corey? What the heck?
What the fuck?
I
He
already-
cheated on
I already
us.
did it.
You already did it.
Yeah.
He cheated on us,
Oh
Jeff.
my God.
So
You
the
son of a
raging,
bitch.
bitch.
the Raging Imagineers for Raging Imagination. This is Mike's group that he went off and did. He asks interesting questions, little like sometimes artsy, and
Sometimes artsy. I've
Yeah.
listened to the podcast. It's pretty artsy.
pretty artsy. But he was saying, hey, apparently Danielle, who is an Infinite Imagination girl, Jeff worked with her pretty close with his play, and then what's it called? Then I've known her off and on since I've started with Infinite, but she was going to an amateur wrestling show, and she's never seen or heard or done of anything to do with pro wrestling, and so Mike wanted to talk about what makes pro wrestling, what is the draw that is pro wrestling, And so he invited me on the podcast to talk about it, and we had a blast. And I actually talked to Danielle today. I kind of broke her today, actually.
You broke her.
I
eh?
hope she's doing
Don't
okay.
break it. Don't break my Danielle.
I hope
She's a
okay.
lovely lady.
No, she hurt herself pretty good today.
Oh
But
no!
how
Like
did-
you broke her.
She was going to my box, and she tripped or something, or twisted her knee, and she can't walk.
Oh,
Jesus,
no!
you really broke her.
Yeah.
Like,
So last I checked, she was at the hospital. So
Oh no!
I was texting her today. She says it hurts, but we'll see, type thing. Yeah. So I felt really awful. So I mean, I didn't do it, but it was on my property. If we were the States, I'd be sued right now.
Mini Blockbuster does not hold any
Yeah, exactly.
any responsibility to anybody hurt on the premises while taking out videos from our boxes.
But she stressed how much the kids loved looking through the box and
Yeah.
yada yada. So that's good. But yeah, get well soon, Danielle. Either way, so that was my dabble. I don't anticipate to do many more, if any, with them. But it was, if you get a chance to, if you're into the theaters and the arts and what art means to you, check out Raging Imaginations or Raging Imagineers. I can't remember what he calls it.
Raging
Go out.
Imagination.
Yeah.
Raging Imagineers, actually.
Is it
Well,
really
Amirs is the
Raging
name of the group,
Imagineers?
but I think the Instagram is Raging Imagination, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay, I must have had it mixed up.
Either
This is a
way.
really good plug how we get the name wrong.
Yeah, right. And he's plugged us, so it's only fair that I plug back. So, yeah. And like I said, I've got some other stuff, which is all part of the stress. I really hope by next week I can give you like a deep dive into what's going on in my life. So, but until then, that's all I got to say about that.
Laura, we all excited with the Scout stuff coming up? I know it's not a big thing to our audience, but
Not to our audience, but it is for us. We've got a lot coming up, actually.
we nailed down a good fall family camp plan there, and we've got a little bit of hammering out to do here.
We do.
And it's coming up quick, isn't it?
It is. It's coming up really quick. I have a story for Campfire.
Oh, yeah?
I have a story for Campfire. We're going to need volunteers, but I have a story for Campfire.
Okay.
But no, that's coming up really quick. Programming's in full swing. I don't want to jinx myself, but things are going good so far.
Oh, knock on wood.
What was that echo? Anyway,
I heard like a little rattle in there.
Right.
Okay, people. If you're listening, I love you. Sorry dearly for missing the steak supper the other day. Goodbye, everybody.
bye.
Oh.